The Men in Black ride at Universal Studios. While not the oldest ride there comes a time when you have to start questioning whether a ride should or should not be replaced. And I feel that this ride, maybe it's time to ask that question. So in this video, I'm going to give thoughts on whether it should be replaced and thoughts on whether it should not be replaced. And then maybe what it should be replaced with. So here we go. Men in Black. Should it be replaced? The first reason why you shouldn't replace the ride is the mere fact that you lose a ride in the park. Anytime any ride is down or goes into a refurbishment or is being replaced, you don't have a ride in that area. And for Men in Black, that's right next to Diagon Alley, where, it's already a high trafficked area. So you don't really want a ride there to not exist anymore. And a refurbishment compared to a complete rehaul is going to take, it's going to be a lot longer of a period of time. So that's a very convincing argument for why you should just let Men in Black be. But, so there, right there would be a good argument to maybe just leave it alone and let it keep going the way it is. The second reason to keep it the way it is Universal right now is building another theme park, which means they are spending a lot more money than that they usually would be doing. So do they really want to put a brand new ride on that, budget at the same time? So just thinking about it from a fiscal mindset, it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend a lot of money on building a brand new ride while you're building a brand new theme park. Epic Universe might be the exact reason why you don't want to build a new ride. I mean, right then and there is a good point to just, basically tighten the purse strings. That's simple. The final reason to keep it as is might be the least effective reason, but it is still a reason, and that is that there is a celebrity connection to this ride. They don't really put Will Smith forward in this ride, but he still is a big time celebrity, and it is something that you could sell the ride on. Whereas, you could argue that you could always put another celebrity endorsed ride there, but if you already have one, why try to shop for another one? But as I said, they don't really utilize him a whole lot. And Men in Black, he doesn't seem to connect that much to the property anymore. But he still is there in the ride, and it still, showcases him. So, you got him, and they could use him. So I guess now we might as well switch over to the reasons to change it. And the first and most obvious one is age. The ride is, quite frankly, old and outshined by other ride types like it. And the property is kind of old too. They tried to reboot the franchise a couple years back and it didn't work. I just don't feel nobody really cares about Men in Black. It's not holding the interest of many people. There's just nothing there. I don't feel like the ride is what it could be, and I don't feel many people really care that much about Men in Black. It's too old of a ride. It just doesn't hold anything anymore. The second reason why I would say you need to change it is kind of connected to the first reason, and that is just simply looking at the wait times for the ride. It doesn't feel like many people want to ride this ride anymore. It constantly has, 10-minute waits, 15-minute waits. It's just there's nobody really rushing to ride that ride, which at least to me says that, there's nobody cares. There's no demand for that ride, and it's connected to the fact that the age of the ride is connected to the fact that the popularity of the franchise isn't really there anymore. It's also kind of connected to the fact that I feel that the shooting ride is now vastly outdone by Disney across town. So I just don't feel that the demand for that ride exists anymore, and I don't feel like there's any fan support there. So, I think it's time to change. And now for the final reason I feel that the ride should change. And it's because I personally subscribe to the idea that rides should be used to pull attention away from other, attractions to try to control wait times. We're about 10 years into the formation of Diagon Alley. That is still by far the most jam-packed area in, the entirety of, Universal Studios. And sorry, but Fast and Furious ain't taking the wait times away from Diagon Alley. Mainly because that ride's horrible. And neither is Men in Black. So maybe you need to redesign a ride that can take something away from Diagon Alley, pull people away from that area, so you can just get that area a little less crowded and disperse your crowds a little bit better. I mean, like I said, Fast and Furious ain't going to do it. Nobody likes that ride. So maybe you got to do something a little better. And maybe a replacement for Men in Black will pull it off. And now for what to change it to. Personally, I feel as if I like the idea of the shooting game. So I want to keep the shooting game alive. And because of that, I would like to see Men in Black switched to Metroid Prime. Now, I understand a lot of people might think, wait a minute, Epic Universe is getting the Nintendo properties, but I feel, especially Universal Orlando has this unique way that they could probably utilize the Nintendo properties in multiple theme parks. Probably have a Nintendo property in each theme park. And listen, there's not going to be a Metroid property used in the Epic Universe park. It seems kind of obvious that all of the Super Nintendo World parks are going to be very kind of carbon copies of each individual one, and none of them are going to have Metroid representation. So let's just have one ride that is, just the ride itself. It doesn't have to be a whole land. And we'll take Men in Black, we'll, gut it, we'll turn it into Metroid, and, that will be exactly, it. Just the ride. No land. Now, why do I think that this is a good idea? Now, the reason why I feel that this is a good idea is because, first and foremost, in a perfect world, if you get this started by, early next year, because I don't think have a realistic time frame on when Epic Universe opens, you would get representation of a Nintendo property probably before Epic Universe ever opens up. So you can get something more in line with having a Nintendo property in one of the theme parks by the time the California Super Nintendo World opens up. So that will be really cool. Also, it seems like they might already be doing this with the rumor that Zelda might be going into Islands of Adventure. Then you could have a Nintendo property in Islands of Adventure, a Nintendo property in Universal Studios, and then obviously the land an Epic Universe. It's kind of like a little bit in each park before the big expansion in the actual park. I think that this would be a good way to make, hey, yeah, there's a Super Nintendo World in Japan. There's a Super Nintendo World in California, but the big event, the special Super Nintendo World is in Orlando, and the only way you can experience the Super Nintendo World plus all the add-ons is if you come here. That's why I feel like this could be a great way, to expand on Super Nintendo World. And finally, what do I think the ride should be past the simple fact of it being a shooting game? Obviously, I think nowadays, especially down there, you can't have just a basic shooting game like Men in Black was. I think you do have to make it to the caliber of Midway Mania. However, I do think that there's interesting things you could do with it since you are basing it now off of a video game. First of all, you could obviously use characters in the video game. Now, I don't remember what a lot of those characters, names are. But yeah, you should still make it a competitive thing, because that is the fun of games like that, of those shooting games in theme parks. Also, I like the idea of, since you're basing it off of a video game, having some form of a final boss in the shooting game that, all of your car works together to defeat. And in Metroid, that final boss should more than likely be Ridley, since that is the most famous, villain of that franchise. But, there's a lot of things that you could still do with it. Should it be 3D? Since more than likely you're going to have to utilize screens to accomplish a lot of this. I mean, yeah, you could use animatronics. I'd be completely down with that. I mean, I know Nintendo's got, kind of 3D screens that don't require glasses. I don't know if that could work on a large scale, but, who knows? Just thinking of random things. But, yeah, I like the idea of it, like, the basic shooting game mindset that comes into all of these with, like, this big kind of final boss thing at the end that you all work together on the car to defeat. But you have to keep that intact. Everybody in the car it's playing against each other, because that's the fun of the shooting games. So that's basically what I think should occur with Men in Black. Listen, the ride is old. The ride's out of date. Universal has a history of replacing their old rides. Why not Men in Black? I mean, I know that as we speak, they're planning to replace the Shrek show. Now, granted, a show's a lot easier to replace than a ride, but let's be honest. I mean, this is what theme parks do. They, rides age, they replace them. You want the better ride. You want the ride that comes to be better, bottom line. But either way, I love to hear your thoughts on this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like and please subscribe. Thank you.